I need to go, or not if
Oh,
I need
no.
to, if there is time
Recap
to
is
go
going
ahead
full
and
Britney.
do more at the end, fantastic. But I really want to hear from our guests more than us.
Let me introduce something a little different here on Reading the Pattern. I recently was invited to be a guest panelist on the Black Tower podcast with Andrew, Josh, and Daniel, along with Rakapa Sadai of Wheel Talk and Stephen from the Fantology podcast. It was a total blast getting to talk with all of them. The topic was best and worst character arcs in the Wheel of Time. And I've pulled some of the best parts out of our conversation into this video and one other. There was just too much to do only one video. So let me warn you that these videos will contain tons of spoilers for the entire series. So you're going to want to skip these and go to my spoiler-free playlist instead if you're avoiding spoilers. But some totally controversial topics came up. And so let's get to some of the fireworks. So the first big controversy starts with Rakapa Sadai setting up her argument for why Faile has the best character arc in the Wheel of Time. Her basic argument is that if you look at who Faile is at the beginning and who she is at the end, there's a vast difference. So let's hear her out.
Thank you. I am honored in this conversation to say, if we are talking about arcs, we got to talk about Faile. And you know what? I'm Cha Faile. I am Cha Faile. And I don't care what people say. I'm spilling on wine. I don't care. I don't care what people say. You know what? Here's the thing. We're talking about arcs, right? We are talking about, oh my God, my hair. We're talking about arcs. So here's the thing. With Faile, she starts out terrible. She really does. And I feel within the fandom, I'm sorry, I'm going to be tearing out my hair while I talk about this, but I feel within the fandom that there's this thing of you have to be Cha Faile or you have to hate Faile. It's one or the other. And my whole thing is that is missing the point of Faile. Because if we're talking about arcs, if you look at the beginning of the series, and I am speaking to all of the Faile fans out there because I'm a Faile fan. I love Faile. I do. Later in the series. The point is, when we are in the Shadow Rising and we are dealing with Faile for the first time, and we have to accept that this is Perrin's romantic interest, it's tough to be. And as someone who is Cha Faile, like, it's tough. When she shows up and then she's like, you know what, Loyal, you're going to guide us through the ways because you're an Ogier and you can't say no. And then we have to go through this scene in the ways where Faile's like, yeah, I'm mad at you. Like, no one cares. But if we're talking about arcs, because I bring this up because if I look back at where I felt, at how my feelings were on a first time reading through, I couldn't stand Faile. I really couldn't. I was really like, you're in the goddamn ways. Grow up and maybe figure out whatever it is that's going on between you two so you can get through the ways and deal with the rest later. Because you're in the ways. It almost belittles the magnitude of being in the ways. And then we get to the last 3 books, and Faile owns the up. And Faile, who in book 4 we were like, oh, she's a hunter for the horn, you know, like what a joke. We already know the horn has been captured. We already know what the horn is. Faile actually becomes, I mean, it depends how you look at it, but she's the only hunter for the horn. And she nails it. And honestly, we're supposed to be cheering for Oliver at the end, but when we get to that last book, I'm cheering for Faile. I'm like, bitch, you were a child when this series started. You were a child. I couldn't stand you. And now you are an actual hunter for the horn. And we would lose all of this if not for you. Thank you, Robert Jordan. Thank you, Brandon Sanderson. Thank you, everyone who created this character who was a child and had this incredible arc of saving the last battle. It's so exciting to read.
So I agree that Faile starts off a very immature character. She sees the world through a very specific lens that's based on the way that she grew up. And she's very rigid in that thinking, especially the way she thinks her relationship with Perrin should go. But if we look at where she is as a character at the end of the series, she has evolved and changed. And to me, that is the definition of a character arc. She learns that her way of looking at things is not always the right way, and her communication with Perrin does vastly improve. I think a lot of people did not enjoy Faile's captivity arc, but despite that, I do think it was very important in propelling her character forward and forcing her to go through that development. Basically, from Malden on, I think we see a much more mature Faile, and she takes responsibility for her actions. She takes action in ways that she can and that make a difference. And she also comes to meet Perrin halfway in a way that she didn't in the first place. So I do agree with Rakapa's overall point that Faile has a strong arc. I also would say that there are other characters who have stronger arcs, more developed, but also if we consider the fact that Faile only has 27 POVs over the course of the whole series, it is impressive that her arc is that strong compared to other characters who have more. Now, Andrew admits that he does not like Faile from beginning to end, but let's see if he is convinced at all.
Trying to remove as much of my like or dislike of the character and just look at what the arc meant for the story overall, because I can't stand the character of Faile from first to last. I can't stand it. I grew up with too many people that acted like Faile acts through the entire books, and they all need a strong smack. That being said,
On the bottom?
That being said, that's not what I'm saying. But she does have a good
All right,
arc.
Perrin,
She has
calm
a
down.
relatable arc. She has an arc that you can understand, because not because everybody goes through what she went through, or not because everybody acts like she does, but because you get to see somebody that has this type of mentality coming into it, very naive, very young, very much self-absorbed, very much childish. And she gets stuck in Wintergate / Faile Gate and has to deal with all the crap of not being around her husband, which makes her, I think, finally appreciate that, hey, maybe I should meet his bearded golden-eye ass halfway somewhere along the point. So she grows, but it's not a self-conscious choice to grow. She's forced to grow by the world around her. Like, I mean, a lot of people are. And the Faile we see by the end is a very much more mature Faile. I think it is a much better Faile than the Faile we initially meet. I still personally don't care for her. Doing a handful of good things doesn't offset being pretentious, stuck up, and childish in the beginning all the way through. But I think it's a decent arc. I don't think it's the best, but decent.
All right.
It's
all right.
personal for Andrew.
It is personal for Andrew.
But that's what we
Those
want from
chapters-
characters. We want characters that have those things that strike a personal chord with us to make us resonate with them.
Yeah.
So on a
Rebecca-
character level, yeah, that's what I
Well,
think. But
Andrew.
from his or from her arc, I think it's a decent arc. I think it's a relatable arc. I think it's an arc that you can follow and you can see as realistic as arcs go.
But then I stir the pot with my claim that Perrin and Faile have one of the better developed romances in The Wheel of Time.
And I think, when you're talking about an arc, it doesn't matter if I like the character. It doesn't actually, I don't even think it matters how huge the character is in terms of like the overall importance in the story. I'm just like looking at how much does this character develop over the course of the series? And then like, is that development, like, does it feel like real and justified, or is it just like kind of pasted on there? So she does really develop. I think that Rakapa is totally right that who Faile is at the beginning and who she is at the end, she does go on a real journey. And she's way more mature. She's way more self-aware and not like just totally stuck in her own like rigid, well, this is the way I was raised, so this is the way everything has to be. And she does step up. So I think she does have a real arc, and I think it's justified. And the thing that I liked about it is that I do think it kind of comes through the relationship with Perrin. They both evolve and grow through that relationship. We don't usually get to see that, like a relationship that starts off with like a lot of, they have issues, they have shit they have got to work out, right? And we don't always get to see that actually happen, like actually play out in a story. And so that's different, and I like that. I actually think theirs is one of the better romances in the series, in which is kind of weak overall. Like a lot of the
That's
romances
a bold
are kind of weak.
statement.
That is a bold
It's a
statement.
bold statement, I
Cotton.
know.
It's
but-
not.
Let's see how it works
It's
out
not.
for her.
It is, but it's correct.
They have some serious problems. Like at the beginning, it's bad. Like there are parts of like their relationship that I hate at the beginning, but the point that makes it a stronger one in the context of the Wheel of Time, which has some pretty bad romances, is that we do see it actually get like explored and it evolves, as opposed to just like we're just throwing these people together and then they like never see each other.
Meanwhile, I think Josh's mind is blown a little bit by some of these arguments.
Oh wow, you got a whistle.
Ooh, it's a big one. She comes a long way, because I have to agree 100% with Recapacity in that when we first meet Faile, we're like, oh my God, shut the hell up. For real now. We can't stand you. But toward the end, we're like, yeah, girl, get it. Grr. Finally, someone who knows that Massima needs to die. Like, thank you. Ah! But I agree with, and here's the fun part, because I agree with Andrew too. I don't like her at all. Like, ugh. I'm like, just stop. Like, please leave me alone. But when I look at a character arc, when I look at growth of the character over time, damn, she grows. Does she retain some of her more annoying personality traits from the earlier series? Sure, absolutely. But at some point in time, the growth of that character is there, and she's able to look and say, Perrin, you're a lord, and I'm going to teach you how you are a lord, and I'm going to help you as your companion, and we are going to work together because I know what you're good at and I know what I'm good at. And I think that her interaction with him changes from, from this is what you should do to, okay, this is what we're going to do together. And I think that's very important. So does she have a good arc? I think she has a great arc. I really do. Is she the best arc? I'm not sold on that, but I can say that I like Faile more after this conversation. So in part, Recappa, you have converted me.
And then Stephen pulls out one really salient point that resonated with him, but also Faile is like a Pokemon.
Yeah, the first time I read the series, not a fan of Faile. I'm kind of with you guys for the most part. Thought she was mostly obnoxious, and yeah, and Perrin's cool, and you're like, what is this? It didn't really add up to me. But after hearing Recapaciti's explosion on this topic, I feel maybe I need to give Faile a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt.
Give her some love.
I really love the analogy you made about her starting out as a pretend hunter for the horn, and by the end she literally is the hunter for the horn. I think that really sums up her development. She goes from kind of faking her way through things through a series of events in her life over 15 books. She gets to the point where, well, she's not in the first.
That's 10.
So,
But no,
It feels
15
like
books, 'cause
15
we read
fucking
them.
books.
So yeah, no, it's 15
It
books.
feels like
Winter's
it.
Heart actually counts
for
for
us,
like
it's
8
15
books
books.
by
No,
itself.
Crossroads
so...
of Twilight is the one that for me.
Sorry,
is
you're
just-
right.
Crossroads
Sorry,
is
sorry.
that's worth
Go,
5
Steven. Go.
books.
Steven, it's
What
your
What
time.
happened to my hair?
But by the end,
Kappa.
she is, she's become the person that she had always
What's happening?
was pretending to be. And so that is my spiel on Faile. Is she the best arc? Maybe no, but I think it is a really solid arc. She basically grows up. She just evolves from the lower version of herself to the adult version, She's a Pokemon, and by the end, she is a high level.
Dun, 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 dun.
I want to be the very
All right, Daniel.
Daniel, though, he is going to make the case that Faile has one of the worst arcs.
I'm
Finish
gonna be
us out on
completely on the
Faile.
other
Before
side.
doing that,
before
I
we
will
sidetrack.
break out into
I
song.
could be no more on the side
no.
of Faile has the worst arc ever.
Wait, no,
as I
no,
am
no,
right
no.
now.
Okay.
I appreciate everything
Then we
that you
get this.
said. I do.
No,
I appreciate
no,
everything
no,
that you said.
No,
But from
no,
day
no,
one
no,
in
no.
Shadow Rising, when we meet Faile, she's the worst. She is
No,
the worst.
I'm
the whole thing.
sorry. I'm
She is
sorry. I
worse
have
than
this here. I'm
Gawain.
sorry.
She
That's
is
a
worse
nice
than
try.
Gawain.
That's a nice
Whoa!
try. Oh,
Worse
girl,
than
that's
Gawain.
a nice try. That is a nice try. I wish I could get behind you on that, but that is not gonna happen because I'm holding the Gathering story in my hand. Forward. What is the forward? Oh my god! I have to
And
no.
to be completely honest, I do think that she does grow. I absolutely do think that she is a different person from the time that she starts the books to the time that she enters the books to the time that she leaves. But at the same time, I don't think that she actually does enough changing. I definitely think that her change is by necessity, and only by necessity, not that she wants to rise to the occasion, not that she actually chooses to rise to the occasion, but that, again, as you kind of said, they lose the last battle if she doesn't do what she needs to do.
Oh, that's a very good point.
What she is doing is so much more out of, adrenaline and necessity and need than her actually deciding that she actually wants to become that person that they need her to be. It's definitely just it's Spider-Man throwing the gauntlet to the next person. It's not that Spider-Man is actually becoming such a better superhero. It's just that he's getting what he needs from point A to point B.
And there are a lot of characters who we would have lost.
What about
in this battle
Rand?
if
That
not
actually,
for-
that applies to a lot.
Exactly.
Rand.
And it's also true that, again, without Faile getting the horn to where it needs to be, yes, we are all making the statement that we lose the last battle. And I think that that's not a bad statement, but it is not something that guarantees loss of the last battle. Take Matt out as general, and we absolutely lose the last battle. Take Rand out of Shale Goal, we absolutely lose the last battle. You can't even argue that those pieces are necessary. Faile, I can see an argument made against her part being necessary, even though I do think it's positive. Again, I don't think that it's not a good piece. But it's definitely not one of those there's no argument that can be made against it being one of the most necessary pieces. So again, it's definitely, I am so not Faile, and I know that she is absolutely a polarizing character. She is, but it's definitely one of those things where the relationships in the Wheel of Time to me are realistic. And there are some that you like and some that you don't. And I have 3 older sisters, and there have been some of their boyfriends that I've really liked and some of their boyfriends that I've really not liked. And there have been their relationships that I've thought made sense and their relationships that I didn't think made sense. And so life is full of relationships that you do or do not think make sense. And I think that that is one of the things that I appreciate about Robert Jordan, is that to me, he writes realistic relationships. But at the same time, I think that Faile and Perrin makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And they're so bad for each other that I like, again, while I believe it, it's certainly not like I don't understand where it comes from and I don't appreciate why it's in the story. It's also a situation where I don't like Faile anymore because of it. And in fact, I actually like her less. And her story arc is lesser because it's a realistic bad relationship.
I feel like right now, I feel like I want to be like Eric Andre, and I'll be like, how could you say something so bold,
controversial,
so
yet brave?
controversial, and yes, so brave?
I mean,
For me, though, I think whether Faile's actions were critical for winning the last battle and what her reasons were for her actions are a little bit beside the point of whether she had a good arc as a character. For me, on that question, I always come back to how much did this character change, grow, develop? Were those changes justified? I think we all agreed that she does change. And for some people, I guess that is not enough, though, and I do understand that. On the relationship, I appreciated the fact that even though Perrin and Faile are mismatched in a lot of ways at the beginning, that we did actually get to see them work through some of those differences and become a healthier couple. I think it's a rarity to get to see that, and I did appreciate it. Now let's see where the panel landed on Faile.
Has your opinion of Faile been changed with the particular filter of her character arc? Does she have a good character arc? You can hate her all you want. You can love her all you want. Does she have a good character arc? From point A to point B, is she a good character in the Wheel of Time? And I'm going to start right now by saying, God, I'm kind of converted. Thank you, Recappa.
I mean, look, we're gonna get into this.
Oh,
We're gonna get into this.
Oh, it's
my
2-2.
hair. I haven't decided which way my
Steven.
hair's gonna lay.
Steven,
Steven, you
where
are the
you at?
deciding
You are the
vote
deciding
here.
vote.
I think I'm slightly yes. It's like
There you
it's
go.
just like barely over.
Recap is
It's gonna
already
be a
going
yes.
full Britney, so you helped
Oh
her
no,
tonight.
we're not there yet. We will get there.
We're
By a
getting
margin
there.
of 51%.
Yeah,
Panel
Right.
decides.
That's exactly
No,
what
but
Be sure to check out my other video from this collaboration where the panel gets into Gawain and things get just as heated. I'll have links to the full conversation, which you're not going to want to miss, on the Black Tower podcast. You can watch that or listen to it. And I'll have links to other fantastic content on Wheel Talk and Fantology.